माँ क्या बकवास कर रही हो?
जो करके तू पैदा हुआ वो बकवास है।
So it's so wonderful to have three fantastic talents with me of love stories too. So Konkona Sen Sharma, Tillotama, Shome, and of course Amruta, Subhash. A warm welcome to all of you on Filme Shilmy. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Anuj.
Thank you, Anuj.
Right. So look, I mean, your segment is a very particularly interesting one because obviously it deals with perhaps a secret love where a third person is a bystander. But I think Konkana, to kind of begin with you, and then if you guys would like to chip in as well, please feel free. To what extent do you feel contests like this help to actually destigmatize sex in society, rather than perhaps just with the aim to maybe just titillate audiences?
Content like this, I mean, I can't speak in general. Overall, I can't speak in general. I think in the case of our film, the intention was certainly not to titillate. The intention was to speak of things which perhaps are unspoken, left unspoken. I always find that interesting because things that normally we do speak about, I mean, then it can get a bit, familiar. So it's always nice to, look at things which have been left unexamined. So in that sense, I think in our film we are trying to do that. We're also trying to juxtapose desire with a class hierarchy, and how how that is also forbidden. Like lust is often taboo and forbidden. Interaction between different sects of society is also, if not forbidden, very strictly codified. Of how that should be, what kind of interactions there should be. So it was nice to kind of, play with that a little bit.
Right. And I think for you both, the leading ladies here, Tilotma and Amruta, to be directed by Konkona, I mean, that must have been a real treat, I'm sure. So if you could please enlighten me about her directorial vision as well, I think I would love to know about that.
Anuj, your face is only so excited when you're talking about it. But I think this is the Coco effect. When I've seen the way people, talk about her, and the effect that she's had on an industry in our industry, being so herself, holding her own and yet being part of this industry. I think that's the reason I think people admire her so much. Um, and it was a pleasure to have worked with her on her debut film, and to see someone who's so detail oriented, so obsessive, so funny, so sexy, has such a unique voice, and worked so hard like a maniac, and to see that up close was so inspiring, and was like an adrenaline rush to see her every day at work. We would go home and crash, and she would be watching the edit or putting her kid to sleep, and watching that that kind of her in action was not something I will ever forget, and so an opportunity to work with her again, um it was a no-brainer. Whatever script she came with, I know I would do it just to be in that room with her again. Yeah, and I really do think she has an unusual mind, and our conversations have always surprised me in many ways, and are very familiar in many ways. And I like that it is familiar, like what we have in common and what we don't have in common both excite me,
Yeah. I think I'm gonna move on to the
God,
next
Tilly, you make me cry.
I honestly, it's such, she's just, I mean, I'm just very fortunate that I've got all three of you together. I think it's a dream panel, very honestly. So I'm very grateful. Thank you, Netflix. You guys have done a great honor. Thank you. So emotions like lust are very complex to understand and depict on screen. And I think given you all as artists, Konkona, including you as a director, as an actor as well, have experience of portraying very layered content. So what experiences came particularly useful in exploring sexuality on screen? And I think I'm going to begin with Amruta for this one.
Okay, so yeah, I had many sexual scenes in this story. So to start with, I was scared. I would be frank with you, And because to do intimate scenes on screen, we need to have a very, very good equation with your director. And I was working with Coco for the first time, like, and I always wanted to work with her. I have always respected her. I have seen her journey as an actor, and she has encouraged many actors like me, I think, who want to do some work, valuable work. So like, I knew that I was in good hands. I trusted her completely, and that won half the battle, I would say. But there was another half, my better half in the film, called Shrikant Yadav, and he really was my better half in the film, because he plays my male partner in the film, and all the scenes were with him. So I was very fortunate that I asked Coco that I want one day before the shoot, and I want to improvise all those scenes with you. And Coco made sure that Anand Bans, our cinematographer, was also there, and we improvised every scene, because there are many sex scenes, as far as my and Shrikant's character they are concerned. So Coco gave me that day when she was not feeling well, but she came there and she made me comfortable. She made me free, and the foremost quality, Coco's quality, is her true love for you. Like, she's there for you. And every actor is very vulnerable, and uh, it may be your 50th project, still you're vulnerable, and you think that it's your first, and you're very scared. Like, I am very scared. I don't know about other actors, but I'm very scared
Yeah, same.
for every project. So I think Coco, being an excellent actor herself, she understands that vulnerability. So she understood where my vulnerability, as far as these intimate scenes are concerned, is coming from. So she was there with me, and that really helped me to cope up with this anxiety. And I think I was quite free on screen. And
They were
you
both
have to be free.
amazing.
Yeah, you have to be free, otherwise it becomes ugly, right? If you're not free,
Right.
I
Thank
mean,
you
I
for
think
sharing.
I was so nervous myself, not just with my female cast, but also even with my crew, constantly, often apologizing, saying, sorry, we'll have to, really get into this, and, constantly having to discuss these kind of things. And I was so intimidated and often nervous, but these two made me feel very comfortable because they were very supportive, so placed their faith in us, and gave so much of themselves in their most vulnerable, in such vulnerable ways, that I'm very grateful.
I'm glad you mentioned this, Amruta. Thank you for saying this, because I would like to actually bring this question to Tillotama as well. I mean, vulnerability here, I think, is so important, I think, as well. I mean, we often talk about it when it comes to gray characters and other sort of fields, but even here, because, you have to be confident, and उस मतलब कैसे वो vulnerability को कैसे overcome करते हैं और फिर confidence से पेश आते हैं screen पे. So for you, Tillotama, what was the process like for you in terms of shredding that vulnerability as well and bringing that confidence on screen?
I think one of my fears in playing Ishita, who when the film starts with her coming back from work because she has a migraine, enters her home and sees Seema having sex with a man on her bed, and there was certain things in the film that made me ask Coco sometimes that, I hope people don't judge, are not too harsh with Ishita, or I hope Ishita, because Ishita is already so harsh with herself for being a voyeur, she judges herself already. I felt a terrible amount of sadness, because Coco, it was very important for Coco that, we don't judge these women. There's a certain vulnerability about Ishita's self-loathing, that aspect in her character where she almost thinks, like there's some kind of disease, and she feels this sense of shame and this sense of guilt. That was, and the loneliness that comes with it when you, before anyone judges you, you judge yourself. That was quite delicious to play, and also, and then there's a class divide between them, and when in a moment of conflict, Ishita pulls out the class card. These are, ugly truths about us that make you human. That we are all not perfect, and in our moments of vulnerability, we'll either show great compassion or we will show a side of us which is quite ugly. I mean, vulnerability can do both. It can bring out great beauty, but also can, make us ugly. And I don't know how Coco's managed to put all this in, in one short film, which is 30 minutes long.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's quite interesting again, because I feel like when it comes to class divide and I guess, people rising above oppression, you all have literally been such notable, having such notable work. I mean, Coco, you did this wonderful, wonderful segment in Ajib Dastan's called Gili Poochi. As soon as Tillotama was describing me, I was like, I saw references of some of the works that you've been a part of, even Dolly Kitty as well.
Yeah.
So I could see I feel like you've absorbed all of these as an actor and exploding it as a director here. But look, I think when it comes to female characters, we're seeing a diverse shift in representation where characters are no longer bound by ethical and moral perfection. And I think, LS2 is a huge testament to that, and I think the sort of stories that we're seeing is a huge testament to that. But tell me, Coco, what do you think can really push the boundaries further in terms of boldness?
I think that we should be unafraid to talk about things, that aren't usually spoken of, or just, take risks. Right now, what happens is that we often play it very safe in terms of, probably especially so for people who are involved in the business end of filmmaking. But content-wise, I feel like, it would be great if we could, be more experimental, be open to, push the boundaries in terms of format, in terms of structure, in terms of even the content, the themes that we speak of, those kind of things we don't do very often. If we're interested in, since you asked about pushing boundaries, then, but it also depends on what becomes popular. Often these things don't become very popular. And if something is not popular, it often doesn't make money. Now, these are the truths I think for many decades now. And one has to see where one lies. There are people who are comfortable, not making money, and there are people who want to make money, and there are some in-betweeners, and you have to see where you want to position yourself.
This is the last question, and I'm glad you touched on this, Coco, because I think this is a very important point, and I think it applies to everyone here. So I think I'm gonna begin with Amruta. So obviously, you three have been really dedicated to the craft of acting, and commercialism is, of course, just a byproduct of the wonderful work that you've all done. But at this juncture, where everything is becoming a melting pot, to what extent do you all think this whole unity of cinema, in a sense of it being a crossbreed of styles, will last for? And going forward, in what direction do you feel the entertainment industry will head to? What do you think is next now in terms of unifying everything as an entity? Amruta, I'm going to ask you first. Sorry, it's a very heavy question.
Well, yeah, but I'm myself very curious about this, where we are going to, because in earlier interview, even I said that as far as women actors are concerned, I would speak for myself. There are different styles, yes, and when OTT came to India, many of us got an opportunity to explore more, and we were given an opportunity to break our slots and have different kind of roles. But that's what I was saying, that that also now it has, like, some years have passed, and then we have played cops, we have played bosses, we have played raw agents, and now I'm myself very, very curious to know where we go from here. Where do we go from here? It's a very, very important question, which even I'm exploring as far as women actors are concerned. And I really hope that we keep exploring, because it has been my urge to challenge myself with each new role in whichever age I am. And as Tillotama said in one of the interviews, like there are creators like Coco who keep on, visualizing us in, like, they will be creating roles for us which are challenging in every age for that matter. And I think I'm going along with these creators in future for sure.
Right. Tillotama and Konkona, if you could also give a comment, that would be great.
I really don't know what the future holds, but it feels reassuring that there are certain relationships that I've built, and I'm excited to grow old with these people. As professionals, as friends, as friends, and Coco is definitely one such relationship that I'd like to see the kind of work we do in our 50s and 60s, and because her gaze, the way she has looked at me, and very few people have, and her the part that she gave me in Death in the Gunj helped directors actually reimagine me in different ways, and I'm very grateful for that. And you can't be friends with everyone you work with, so I feel quite lucky that in my 40s I have someone like Konkona in my life, and it makes the future feel a little more hopeful, and yeah.
Safe and exciting. Yeah, me too. I hope that we can collaborate, all of us, in different ways,
Yeah.
for decades to come. If you think about the future, it's very hard to predict. And if going by current trends, there'll probably just be only very short format films, like 5 minutes, because attention spans are dwindling. But I'm not so interested. I'm not so interested in that, because it's, if one could predict that, like, we would make money or whatever, like, so many things would be solved for so many people. But I'm looking forward to what experiences I have, because what
Yeah.
experiences I have, I will somehow find a way to put it into whatever I'm doing, whether it's the roles I act in or the things I write or direct or whatever, So those will be interesting things, because who knows now, industry trend, kya hoga, what people want to watch. There are so many people, there's no point getting into that,
Yeah, for sure. Well, no, look, I think what we can definitely look forward to, though, for now, is Love Stories 2, and seeing very different and very strong women sort of stories coming on that platform. And I cannot wait to see your segment in particular. It's been such a pleasure
Thank
to have you,
you.
Coco, Tillotama, and Amruta. It's such a dream panel, really. So I'm really glad
Thanks,
that you guys
Anuj.
joined me on filmeshilmy.com, and a huge congratulations.
Thank
Lovely to chat with you.
Thank you, Anuj.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.